Hey guys, SRE.live here, back with another video, and today we are going to talk about cryptocurrencies and what do you need to know to invest in your crypto as a beginner. And I've collected some of the key steps that you need to make sure you do to set you up in the safest way possible for the long-term investment, because a lot of people jump into crypto and they start buying it super fast and it works, but then they forget the password or they get hacked and they do something weird and they lose all their money. And the reason is because they don't take enough security steps, or you don't set it up in a proper way, or you don't buy your hardware wallet, or you didn't really know something. So I want to point out a few things that are not in some other guides that are on YouTube, and there's one critical one that a lot of people lost their money because of it, so you probably want to watch on. Start, there's a really key component to crypto, and it's what is the biggest drawback or what's the biggest downside? It's that there's nobody to blame. You know, the moment you lose your password, or you make a wrong transaction, or you forget something, or you make a mistake, then those money are gone instantly. So there's nobody else, because you are your own bank and you have this great responsibility. You have a lot of power. You have a lot of power of decentralization, the fact that you could make large deposits, large withdrawals, so you could pay for stuff cross borders with no fees. But there's a lot of that stuff that you have to do to make sure you're doing it in a safe way, to keep your machine updated, to have all the two-factor authentication and stuff like that. So there's a lot of it. You also want to be very careful in terms of phishing sites and links that probably will be posted somewhere in the comments of this video, like links to Twitter, links to Telegram, and say, hey, follow this guy, follow that guy. You obviously never, ever, ever want to send any crypto and for claims will send you double or triple amount in return, and never ever share your 24-word phrase, because again, you will lose your money. But the first step that you want to take is you want to buy your hardware wallet. There are really three types of wallets, or three main places that you can keep your crypto. Is you could keep it on the exchange, which is probably the terrible way, because crypto, like exchange, probably gets hacked by 200 to 500 hackers a second, and the moment they do it, if they are successful, you lose all your money. Now, Binance, one of the biggest exchanges, got hacked in 2019, I believe, and 7,000 Bitcoins got stolen. But because Binance is such a massive exchange, they actually refunded all the money. That was really good, but a lot of times exchanges are not really insured, so you're not going to get your money back. You always want to transfer your money into your hot wallet or your cold wallet. Hot wallet is your software wallet, which is pretty good, it's much better, but because it's connected to internet, it's also not safe. So the safest option is to buy something like Ledger or Trezor. This is a Ledger Nano X. This is one of the classic hardware wallets. And what's really cool about these wallets is that they keep your money offline, and they actually don't keep the crypto on the wallet. They keep your private key, your password, and your actual currency is all on blockchain online. So you don't really have any crypto in this thing. And a really funny fact is that this thing costs like $100, $150, and it only is 1.8 megabytes, which is kind of funny, but I know it doesn't really matter, but it's like 1.8 megs, which is really interesting. But why do you pay that money? Well, first of all, it's offline, but second of all, it has a microchip that has built-in security. So let's say you are connecting it to your Mac or your PC, and you have your computer is infected with a virus. Then this microchip will actually protect your private key. So even though your computers, it's compromised, your private key will not be exposed. So you could still safely transfer your crypto. So that's a really important part. Now, the most important, the critical part when you are setting up your hardware wallet, and this is $1 million to $1 billion thing that a lot of people forget. You set up your 24-word phrase, right? Great, that's amazing. And you wrote it down on your 3 sheets of paper, but you want to then wipe out your wallet and try to restore it with your 24-word phrase before you transfer a lot of money on it. Well, here's why. Because you want to make sure that your phrase actually works on this thing, because it's really not about the wallet itself. Like, the wallet itself is a pretty disposable thing. The most important thing is your 24-word phrase. That's where the value really is. That gives you access to your whole account. So you want to make sure your 24 phrase is actually correct and it actually unlocks that wallet. It takes an extra time, but you really want to do that. Why? These things stop working, they get weird firmware updates, they get reset. All things can happen, but the only sure way to actually get access to your account, to your money, is 24-word phrase. That's why people buy this crazy expensive stainless steel, titanium, all sorts of plates to make sure that the actual phrases never get stolen or lost or eaten by a cat or any of those things. I will link Trezor and Ledger in the show notes below, but you always want to make sure that you're buying this thing from the actual manufacturer, not from Amazon website, not from Josh Mo's store, to make sure that you're buying it unopened and legit, and nobody really tried to look at your 24-word key before you did, to make sure that you don't steal your wallet and don't buy like a used wallet as well. Okay, so you ordered your wallet, you're waiting for your wallet, and actually I would suggest to buy two, one Ledger Nano S and Nano X. Just get the two so you could have a backup. That's probably a better idea. While you're doing it, step number 2 is you want to get this guy. You want to get something like this. It's, see, the weird thing about the technology is that you have the cutting edge technology like cryptocurrencies with all the cryptography and all of that, and then you have old school paper, which is actually the best way to store all your passwords, two-factor authentications, your all backup codes, because you never ever want to store any of the passwords on the computer or any device that is connected to the internet. Again, because you are your own bank. There's really nobody else to protect you. There really isn't. So you want to make sure that you have at least 2 or 3 of these. You have redundant copies. You write down the stuff that is important, and do ignore that phrase because that's a cheap dollar store notebook. But you get the idea. Get 2 or 3 of these. Record all the stuff that you get once you start registering for platforms. Step number 3 that is really critical is when you are, before you even start setting everything up, you want to call your cell phone provider and create a secret phrase to make sure that there are no scammers or hackers call them, pretend to be you, and try to reset your phone number. Because a lot of times that's what happens. People will call, they say, hey, this is me. They'll figure out how to pass some of the basic security checks, and they'll reset your phone number. So whenever you try to access your account, these people, the two-factor authentication code will go to another number, not yours. And so you want to make sure that your secret phrase is a little bit weird. This is not some easy nickname or your street or where your mom met your dad. Make sure it's a little bit more complicated. And before you say, I'm not going to remember it, you will. Just write down in 3 notebooks and you'll be fine. Now, step number 4, you want to create a brand new email address. Why would you do that? Is because you want a clean email that you have not used for any other platform to make sure that it is as discreet as possible and it was never exposed on social media, online, anywhere. And you don't want to really be adding it to any email client unless you absolutely need to. So Proton Mail is a really good one because it's secure and it's free, and so I would recommend to use Proton Mail, and so you can get like your specific email purely for your crypto trading that only you know. Create a crazy password, and of course, don't forget, put it in here. Now, actually, while you're setting it up, you also want to install Google Authenticator. And with Google Authenticator, you always want to add your two-factor authentication for really every account that you're creating. Okay, now step number 5, we're finally ready to register on the damn exchange. I know it's a lot of steps. It is a lot of steps. But number 5, if you are in the United States, Coinbase is a good exchange. It's one of the biggest ones. Binance is a really good exchange. Coinbase is better for beginners because it's an easier interface. Binance is super crazy fancy, and it's a lot of pro traders use it, but I would still recommend Binance because it has a ton of security features that is really cool, because again, the more security features you add to your setup, the better. So Binance is a good option. If you are in Canada, I would say BitBuy is pretty good because I know it only supports Bitcoin or Ether, but it's pretty easy and low fees to actually transfer a large amount of funds. And then if you want to buy Bitcoin, you want to buy Ether, then you can transfer it to your Binance or to your Coinbase, depending on what platform you want to be trading with and what kind of coins you want to invest in. You can use Kraken as well. Kraken is pretty good, but also keep in mind that if you are transferring large amounts of money to Kraken for the first time, they will be holding it for 72 hours, which is a freaking long time, 72 hours. Kraken. Like, I'm looking at you. So I don't know if you want to do that. I don't really want to wait for 72 hours, especially if you're transferring large amounts of money with a wire or AKA Swift, because that will take 2 days, then 72 hours. You're just going to be like, you're going to be a week offline, not in trading. And because crypto's traded 24/7, 365, 7 days, that's a lot of time not doing anything. So you want to consider those things. Step number 6. You want to follow cool people that talk about crypto on YouTube. And again, it's really up to you who you want to be following. I'm just going to share people that I'm following, that I've learned a lot, that I trust in the space. First of all, Crypto Casey, she's awesome. She did like some tremendous guides, so you can check out the stuff for that. And just in terms of the news, she's great. Alex, good stuff. There's some really interesting insights that he's posting. GRNY, really cool guy. He posts like literally every day. Really, really smart dude. Really like him. Sheldon Evans is amazing. I would highly recommend him. They're in this Hashoshi guy, or this nickname, which is kind of funny. But he's great too. He's doing like, I think every week, like coffee news, crypto, which is great. He's a really awesome dude to follow as well. Now, if you are following them on Twitter, just be careful, because you will probably see one of their clones will follow you back, and you're like, oh, this big guy actually followed me. But closely watch the nickname. This is not them. This is actually a spam or hacker or whatever, to make sure that they can get you whenever possible. So that's what I would recommend. And do definitely look up some other cool people that you would be interested in and listen to their advice. And now we get into the step number 7. Okay, step number 7 is let's go buy the damn thing. Now you've probably registered everywhere. Hopefully you did all the previous steps. You got your hardware wallet. Actually, before you purchase, you want to set up your crypto wallet, and I would recommend an actual link in the show notes. Crypto Casey guide for setting up your wallet. I think it's a little bit old, but it's really, really, really good. Even though the interface is a little bit outdated, I would recommend it. It's a really good understanding of how this thing works. You set it up once, you'll actually understand it, but always do not forget to wipe your wallet and test your 24-word recovery phrase before you transfer your money from the exchange to the wallet. Hope this was helpful, guys. This is the SRE.live guide to how to start trading crypto. For more detailed guides, I'll link a few from Crypto Casey. She did an amazing work with like actually screen by screen walkthrough of what you need to do. She did an amazing job. I didn't do it because, again, it really depends on how do you want to set it up. But if you're really new to it, definitely a super technically complicated place to be, but I'd still recommend it. You can make a lot of money on it, and also just be really familiar with the space, especially when the adoption is going to skyrocket in the future. Later this year, in the future year, crypto is going to be really huge, and you'll be able to make transactions that you are absolutely not able to do with a bank. And later you look at the bank and you see like, hey, I want to withdraw $5,000, and they say, actually you can because the limit is 3,000. You're like, WTF, right? And because you get used to crypto and the fact that you could, with very minimal identification, for example, on Binance, you could withdraw like $5 million worth of Bitcoin. And that's pretty amazing. Like, you'll never be able to walk into the bank without calling them saying, hey, I want my 5 mil. They're like, okay, cool. Right? Like, they don't even have your money, which is interesting because, again, we never had an alternative, or since 2010, we really never ever had an alternative to banks. So that's really awesome. That's why I like this space a lot. Consider subscribing for the channel. I'll be sharing all my trades in the future videos. In fact, one of them will be coming out this week. I'll talk about what I'm investing in, and I'll share specific on-screen stuff with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.